Hello, my crafting friends. It is time for Christmas in July. So if you love budget-friendly, primitive Christmas DIYs, then come craft with me. My name is Sarah and welcome to my channel, Primrose Lane Prims. If you haven't done so already, I hope you'll consider hitting that subscribe button and crafting again with me in the future. And now let's jump right into these Christmas DIYs. So for this first DIY, we're going to make a little poinsettia ornament, and I went ahead on a piece of cardstock and traced out my pattern. I made a little teardrop shaped petal and one circle. The circle will be our base and the little teardrops will be our petals. And I'm going to go ahead and cut those out, and I'm going to start tracing them onto this little 25-cent piece of felt from Hobby Lobby. Now you're going to need 8 petals in total, and as you can see here on this one sheet of quarter felt, I was able to get 3 entire flowers traced out on this, and there's still a little room here, you can see, for about 5 additional petals for your next round of ornaments, say if you wanted to make a couple sheets of this. And the circle, as you can see, is about 2 inches in diameter, and the petals are about 1.5 across and 2 inches long if you want to draw your own. I'll also link a printout copy of my pattern that I used here. So once I have all my petals cut out and my little circle base, I'm going to take my petal piece and I want to pinch it right here at the bottom so it kind of gives it a little bit of dimension. So I'm just going to add a small amount of hot glue just right here at the bottom part of my petal. You want the pointed part to be your top. Fold that over, push that little bottom part down in the glue. I'm going to add a little bit more glue on top and on the side and pinch that other side around and just hold it there for a second. So you can see it just makes it kind of pop up, gives it a little dimension. That's what we're going for here. So just a little bit of hot glue on the bottom. Just put that first side over, add a little bit more hot glue, fold that over, and hold it there for a second until that glue really sets. And we'll continue doing that with each and every one of our petals. And like I said, you'll need 8 petals per flower. Once I have all of my petals glued, I'm going to go ahead and add my hanger, and I'm just going to grab some of this little jute twine. This is just from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to fold over a little loop piece here, cut it out, and I'm going to hot glue this right to the circle piece of my flower. This is going to be the hanger, and it's going to be hidden underneath the petals where it's glued on, so all you'll see is just the top loop. Now, once that's glued on, I'm going to start laying out my petals around my little circle here, just to get an idea of where I will want them to go. You're going to go around the edge. We're going to put something in the middle here in a minute. So you want all your petals kind of touching on the side so it looks nice and full. Then once you get them adjusted to where it looks good, add some hot glue and then just start pressing them down in that glue. These are really such an easy, fun, and so inexpensive ornament to make, and they look so pretty on a tree. They just add that little pop of red. You could use a brighter red felt if you want. I just like this darker maroon. It kind of matches my decor more. So here you can see this is the back, and this is what it's looking like once all the petals are glued on. Now for the center, I'm going to use a rusty jingle bell. I'm just going to add some hot glue right here in the middle, and I'm going to bring my flower to my bell. That way my little clacker doesn't get stuck in the hot glue. I want my bell to still be able to jingle. Now you could use a silver jingle bell, or you could even use little berries if you wanted to instead, but I like the way this rusty bell looked. I'm going to do the same thing here with my other little points that I had cut out. For a 25-cent sheet of felt, 3 ornaments for 25 cents plus whatever little bell is a really, really budget-friendly, great deal. Now, because these are primitive, I wanted to add just a little bit of grunging. If that's not your thing, you could just leave them as they are and skip this last step. But I'm going to take my Waverly Antique Wax and I'm just going to start dry brushing it around my petals on my felt here. This is a really darker maroon felt anyway, so this distressing is actually really, really subtle. It shows up probably more in person than in the camera, but I just like the little touch it adds. And I'm going to go a little step further, and I'm just going to take a little bit of ground cinnamon and sprinkle on top of that antique wax while it's still wet, and brush off some of the excess. And I'm just going to use my finger to really push that cinnamon down into that wax, rub it into that felt. This makes them smell, have a little nice smell to them. And like I said, it's just a really subtle grunging primitive touch. So you can see this is what it's done. And here's one that hasn't been. You can tell me what you like more. It really is a personal preference, but this is what they turn out. I think these are so cute. So for this next DIY, I'm going to use these giant craft sticks. This is a 45 pack. I get it at Walmart. It's only a few dollars. It's really inexpensive. And I'm going to use 5 of these, and these are 10 inches in length. So we're going to use these to put together a little rustic tree topper. So I'm just going to start by laying out my popsicle sticks in the shape of a star. Just kind of play around with it, mess around with it, get it into a shape that looks good to you. You could even have your star slightly off, slightly crooked. Some of the primitive stars are not 100% symmetrical, so just play around with it till it looks good to you. And then I'm going to use a little dab of hot glue on the corners and the sides to secure this all down. And if you're enjoying this video so far, be sure to drop down and hit that like button. And if you haven't done so already, I hope you'll consider hitting that subscribe button and crafting again in the future. It's completely free, and I would absolutely love to have you join me again in the future. I'm going to add a little glue underneath here to make sure this is nice and secure. To wipe off my excess hot glue that leaked out. So here we have our little wooden star now. Now next, what you want to do, you could paint it or stain it, and I want to go the stained route. I'm going to use my Waverly Antique Wax, and I'm going to use that to act as a stain and stain this entire star front, back, and sides. You could use a baby wipe to put this on. I just grab a large, softer, bristled brush, and does the trick for me. And once it's all stained and dried, this is what it looks like. Now we want to add some embellishments. So I've got this cream and gingham homespun fabric, and I'm going to grab a piece of this. This is one of those Walmart garlands. They're around $4. The cheaper ones that they have. I like to rip these apart and use them as pine in my projects. And this is one I had left over from last year. So I'm just going to pull a couple sprigs of this pine off of this garland. I'm going to put it in the shape of an X and give this a twist right in the center a couple times to make this little bundle of pine that just secures those two pieces together. I'm going to bend all 4 kind of down, facing down. Next, I'm going to take my 2 pieces of homespun here. I'm going to cross them over as well, and I'm going to tie them in the center in a knot. And that's going to go on top of our pine. But before I glue anything down, this pine is a little stringy, it's a little odd. I just wanted to give it a little bit of a haircut, trim it up just a little bit. It was a little too wild. It was hiding more of the star than what I really wanted it to. So I'm just going to cut it down. I'm trying to keep it over my tray and not make a huge mess. And the little pine needles are still flying everywhere anyway. Ugh. I guess if you're not making a mess, are you really crafting? So, try as hard as I might, I always make a mess. Okay, so once my pine is cut down, I'm going to go ahead and glue this at the top. This is upside down for you. I've got it facing me, so this will be kind of the top and left of my star once it's turned around. I'll turn it around in a second so you can see it better. And then I'm going to hot glue my ribbon right on top of that. And then I'll just trim down those tails of that ribbon. They're a little too long. And I had an extra piece of fabric that must have been 2 strips of fabric stuck together. So I thought I had 2, but apparently I had an extra one stuck in there. They were just right together and I didn't even notice it. So we had 3 pieces of fabric, technically, I guess, tied together instead of 2. But it worked out. A happy accident. It looks good. I'm happy with it. So I've got these little mini pine cones. These were a little box I got from Walmart. I got them at the end of the season on clearance after Christmas. I'm going to take hot glue 3 of those and a little rusty jingle bell right in the center of my flower. And now I want to make a hanger so that I can attach this to a tree, or you can even attach it to a wreath. I'm just going to take a piece of my rusty wire that get this off Amazon. I'm going to hot glue it down and take a scrap of that homespun fabric that I trimmed off and put that over top the wire in the hot glue, make that extra secure. That way I can use this wire to wire it right to the top of my tree. Or like I said, you could even put these in a wreath. Use this to wire it to a wreath. It would look really cute that way too. Either or. It's versatile. So there you can see that wire, and there it is. Look how cute. This is so simple, so budget friendly, and it looks so pretty on the top of a tree. This next DIY, we're going to make another little ornament to go on our little rustic tree here. And I went foraging for some sticks in my yard. Yep, I just grabbed a whole bunch of sticks that I found laying around. I've got woods by my house, so I just picked up a bunch of different kinds, some thinner, some thicker. And I'm going to start trimming these down into pieces. These are about 5 inches or so long. And I'm going to just start laying them out in the shape of a star. We're going to make some rustic, primitive stick stars. And bear with me because I tell you, they turn out cuter than you'll imagine for just sticks from your yard. You can't get much more budget friendly than that. You could do the same process too with cinnamon sticks if you had them. But I really just like the rustic look that sticks give. So once I just have my stars laid out, I'm just going to start hot gluing them together. Just add a little hot glue wherever it's needed. Get the little stringies, hot glue stringies everywhere. So there's what it's looking like. I'm going to glue this other one. This is like a really thin, really small thin twigs that I used on this one. And some of them are bent, as you can see. My one stick is bent, and that's the beautiful thing about these. Every one is different. There's so many different types of trees and sticks. Some have knots, some have little bits of moss, some are bent, and each one's unique and I think turn out cute. So next I'm going to go in with this jute twine again. I'm just using this Dollar Tree jute twine. It's a little thinner, and I'm going to use this to go around the edges. We're going to have to make this a little more secure, but make it look a little bit more finished as well. So on the back of my star, I'm just going to add a little dab of hot glue, put my twine in there, and I'm going to wrap it around the top 1 or 2 times. I'm just going to go ahead and trim this off here because leave myself a decent length, and I'm going to put it down underneath the one side and down underneath the other, and then wrap it around. Does that make sense? So the twine will not only wrap around, but also in between each branch, and then just hot glue it down in the back. So you can see I'll add a little in the back, hot glue it down. And some of these are wrapped around just once or twice, sometimes 3 times depending. Cut myself a decent length, put it down in between the branch, wrap it around, go down in between again on the other side, and then wrap it, finish wrapping it around and hot glue it in the back. Like I said, this secures it more and it really does add a nice finished look to those edges. And here's, once I've got all 3 of mine done, what each one looks like. So next I'm going to take my twine and I want to go ahead and put a hanger on these before I go any further, before I add any embellishments. And I'm just going to cut a decent length, put it right through the top of my star, tie it off right here, just tie it down in a knot. And then tie the top loop. Now we got a way to hang our little stars. Easy peasy. So next we want to embellish. So I grabbed another little, just one sprig of this pine from that Walmart garland again. And one will do all 3 of these. And I'm just kind of bending this over a little bit in a U shape. I'm going to make 3 of these out of this one little piece of pine. And I'm going to once again want to trim these down because, like I said, they're just a little wild, a little too wild. You could also use, if you have any of those little garland ties from the Dollar Tree, those would work as well. So I'll trim each one of these up. See, makes it a little better. And then I'm going to hot glue these right up here in that top left corner, just like I did with the tree topper star. Now, next I'm going to take some of these dark maroon pip berries that I have. A couple little pieces left over from a pick that I had. I ripped these apart for many projects. And I'm just going to cut off a couple small sections and twist them together to make just a little bundle in the shape of an X almost. I'm just going to put them in an X and give them a twist in the center to secure them together. And then I'm going to hot glue those right in the center of my pine. And then I'm going to finish these off with a little rusty jingle bell right in the middle. And I'm once again going to bring my star to my bell. You can see me, I keep shaking it because I want to make sure my little bell clacker keeps out of that hot glue. So they jingle. And here these are. These are so rustic, so prim, and so cute. And you can't get much more budget friendly than free sticks from your yard. For this last DIY, this is going to be an easy and simple one. I want to make a little simple garland to go on my little tree here. And I'm just taking my thicker jute twine. This is from Walmart. It's a little thicker 4-ply jute twine. And the length is going to depend on the size of the garland you want to make. I'm making this for a 4-foot tree, so I'm making it about 8 feet long. And I'm going to take some homespun fabric of my choice. This is a maroon and cream gingham, and I'm going to rip some strips of it. I'm going to start here. You could cut these down, but I'm not going to. I'm just leaving the piece long, and I'm going to tie it right to my twine and then snip it off. I have gone through and cut all the pieces before when doing garlands, but this is just another kind of little faster, easier way instead of having to chop your pieces down before you cut them or before you tie them. And I'm going to space these pieces of fabric. These are approximately, I don't know, not sure, maybe 10 inches, I'm going to say, apart. Let me grab my tape measure. Let's find out for sure. I'm just kind of eyeballing this. Yeah, look at that. Look at that. Right approximately 10 inches or so apart. So I'm just going to keep tying my fabric, cutting it off, sliding it down, tying another piece. And I'm going to keep doing that the entire length of my garland. See? Now for in between the pieces of fabric, I'm going in once again with these little pine cones that I got from Walmart, and I'm going to add these in between each of the pieces of fabric. And now to do this, I'm just going to grab some of this green floral wire. You could use brown if you have it, but green's what I had on hand and it works, especially when it's on a tree. You don't see it. I'm going to take my floral wire, tuck it down into my pine cone. Make sure it gets down there really good and twist that together. And then about an inch, inch and a half or so tail, chop it off. And now we have a wired pine cone. Just put it right on your twine, wrap that little tail of wire really good and secure around that. And voila, there we go, easy peasy. You could make this garland fuller if you wanted to make double the amount of strips of fabric. Say make them every 5 inches instead of every 10 inches and put your pine cones between. Is really up to you. I'm just wanting this to be a little really rustic, simple, primitive garland. And these have this little touch of glitter on them, and sometimes I'm not big on glitter, but these are just, it's really a light amount, and when the lights and the little tree hit it, just kind of adds a little sparkle. I don't mind this so much. I'll probably mind it more if I get some when I'm finding glitter all around my house, but the price you pay for sparkles, right? And I'm just going to keep doing that all the way down and fast forward here, and here we go. Add this to the tree and you can see what it looks like. Sweet and simple and incredibly budget friendly. That is it for today's video, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to drop down and hit that like button. If you haven't done so already, I hope you'll consider hitting that subscribe button. Don't forget to follow me on social media. The links are in the description box. And until next time, God bless and happy crafting.